CEO of the Finest G.I. Joe Costume Club. If you've seen me online or met me, you know I'm pretty obsessed with making costumes. And I do little shenanigans with Maggie. We roped in Alex this year, who is the XO of the Finest, and Maggie, who is the membership liaison officer of the Finest. And also, they do more than G.I. Joe costumes, but this is a G.I. Joe costuming panel, so I will let them introduce themselves.
They already did it.
No, you can tell them about yourself.
Okay.
Or not, whatever.
Sure. I'm Alex, XO of Finest, as Joe kind of introduced. We're doing this for, what, 5 years? Love every minute of it. It's a blast.
He's dying of heat because he's wearing all this fur.
It's lots of looks.
It's actually not too bad.
Yeah, it's this. Yeah. The joys of unlined flight suits.
I'm Maggie.
Hi, Maggie.
Hello.
Sports bears.
Like she said, I'm a membership liaison for the Finest. I've been costuming forever. I think I've like 12 years or something. I don't know.
How many costumes do you have?
A lot. G.I. Joe, I have 5 or 6 or 7 now. I don't even know. But I have like hundreds of costumes.
All right, so we decided to do a patch for this year for our members. For those of the members that came to JoeCon, this is obviously the patch we created. All the proceeds are going to Canines for Warriors. We have one patch left. We have more members apparently that arrived than counted. Yes, that's okay. So we're big into charity, as you guys know, and we've raised over $3,000 so far at JoeCon, which is pretty record.
Costume and G.
So this was yesterday at the photo shoot. We grabbed some Joes, some Dreadnoughts, some Cobras, and we went outside because we're insane, and came back in and did a group shot. So this is our newest group shot with everybody.
And Larry.
And Larry. We just did a Ziggy one today, so we'll have that up. All right, why do we do this? Everyone always asks us this question.
Because we're crazy.
More than that,
Yeah, it allows us to drink. For those over 18, caveat. It's fun, we bring smiles to people. We do a lot of charity work, we give back to the community. That's kind of why we do it. We become masochists, we continually do it over and over again. We showcase our creativity, obviously. It becomes a challenge every time you create a new costume. You think it's easy, or you think like, oh, this will be a simple one, and there's one element that you look at and you say, this is gonna be difficult, and it's your challenge, and it ups your game, or it ups your skill, or you get frustrated, you light it on fire, and you throw it at a window. Whatever. We also obviously love to support Hasbro's, the brand, Hasbro or G.I. Joe, and we create fan films, and yeah, we just spread the word, and we're pretty obsessed with G.I. Joe.
Yeah.
This was
This was a labor of love. I mean, we started this actually came out of last year's JoeCon. We were kind of ending, it was about this time last year, we were ending it, we're like, all right, what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? And I'm like, let's do snow serpents. And I'm like, let's, and
or a JoeCon.
yeah. And our Florida folks were like, yeah, that would be awesome. They're like, we want to build snow serpents and then go to the beach. And I'm like, okay, sure.
It's not right.
Why not?
All right, so we get a lot of questions about building, props, costumes, obviously. But the planning is the most important step. Because we're a canon group, so everything is pretty either screen accurate from the movies, the comic books, art that are in the comics, no interpretation really. Toys, action figures, so it depends on if you're doing a Snake Eyes version and there's like 74 versions of Snake Eyes, you really have to
Pick one.
pick one. One.
Yep.
Just one. Please just pick one. But we got to do 1/18 scale. If you're doing a prop like a backpack, we scale it up. And the little toy, you measure, we're kind of intense, or I'm intense. I think we're all intense. You see up there, we've got measurements for like the smallest detail. There's 3 inches on here, the LED lights go here, and then you try and figure out the materials, the weather. Sometimes things don't even exist. So if you have a 3D printer, you can 3D print stuff. If you don't, you walk into Home Depot and start looking at different shapes and sizes of anything from PVC piping to lampshades to, I don't know.
Everything.
Everything, yeah.
I've lived in the hardware section for a few times, just
Yeah.
walk up, down, down.
Can I help you?
No, you can't help me.
No one can help me. Is there anything in the planning stage that you guys found was difficult?
I think the hardest part when you're going from an action figure, when you're going from an action figure that only has a vintage representation, or only going from one character in the animated series, it's very difficult to take. You have to consider that at the time the detail was reduced when you went into that, and so what you're seeing is not entirely the whole vision sometimes. And it's kind of tricky to go and pick through those items and say, hey, this needs a little bit more, and there's a very fine line there, and it's very difficult to walk. I think that's probably one of the hardest things about planning when you're going from something that was designed to be mass marketed, mass produced, to something that you want to be very specific and very detailed in.
You got anything?
I mean, the only other problem I've ever had is, so like with the costumes, if it's a drawing or a cartoon or a toy, sometimes there are pieces on the figures or the characters that even the artists have no idea what they are. They just designed it to look cool. So there's not even something equivalent in the real world to what they're wearing.
And so
Like your
many
helix.
belts.
Yeah, my helix belts, like, I don't know, like, no one knows what those little things are on their belts. Like,
We've asked all artists, and they were like, well, we thought maybe it was like pockets.
they're just there.
They're just there, but they're really thin. Well, maybe they're like an exclusive thing that you like take them off and stick them on a wall. And I was like, what? Doesn't make sense. So here you have the left side is a blown up version of a photo of the toy, and the right side is on the paper you see we've drawn it out and then scaled it up to a full scale model. Actually, that was 75% up because I am not a 6 foot tall man. So that is actually a heavy prop.
Yeah, those are metal
Those are metal. The handles. Valves are metal. There's PVC piping and there's foam, but the weight of it sits on my lower back, and I can only wear it, which is, you guys should consider this when you're making props, is can you wear it for a long period of time? And will it hurt you if you wear it for more than 2 hours? Because if you have to take breaks, you need to take breaks. But if you can find something that is light and isn't actually physically hurting you, do not. Why are you looking at me like that? You should, I'm learning, should not wear things that are going to physically hurt you.
It's taken a while.
That's the finished product. Isn't it pretty though? It lights up. It's really heavy. I need more wine. Alex.
Yep.
This is Alex's slide. So we started like a friendly competition in the finance of building props. So we had
Our missile defense.
the missile defense, we've had the tower, bivouac. Actually, we started with the bivouac, and from there, another garrison was like, oh, we gotta do something else. So we did the missile defense, and then your garrison was like, oh, I'm gonna up this.
Yeah, we
And
built a 16-foot tall tower.
for conventions.
Yeah.
Literally step up.
So, and we started with, we literally took the play set, took it apart, put it back together, measured everything, and we went from play set to a full scale, nearly 16 foot tall, including the flag, tower that comes apart and can be put back together, and we can assemble in about an hour and a half and tear it down in under an hour.
Is Josh helping?
Yeah, that definitely helps.
That's not the break.
So, yeah, this is, basically, you go through the same process as when you're building a costume to do something like this. The awesome thing when you're doing a play set is we have blueprints. We have drawings that we can take and write down. So what I did is I actually measured the toy and then I used the blueprint to, keep track of all my measurements and stuff. But I mean, it's the same process. There's just more complications. You have to think about transporting it. And you have to think about how durable is this thing that I built going to be. And the biggest struggle that we had with it was, how do we make this thing come apart but be able to hold us and safely hold us without any question? And we redesigned it about 3 times before we were really happy with it.
How many people fit in on the top?
We've had our 2 largest members of our garrison in the watchtower at the same time, and it's steady like a rock. It doesn't move, but it weighs a ton.
Where do you store it?
Yeah.
We actually, so in case you
Rent a storage space?
No, we have an amazing garrison member who has a 3-car garage and has let us kind of take over it. So we've got it stored in a very tall 3-car garage vertically in parts. Yeah, but storage is really when you're building something that's big like this, yeah, where am I going to keep this for long term? Because if you put the money into it and the time into it, you don't want to just go out and light it on fire. Josh.
That's the same with costumes though. Like, you have over 100 costumes. I have Closet of Narnia. Like, it takes up space, and each costume may be a bin or a bag, but when you have that many costumes that also come with props that you are very attached to and have worked hard for, and you don't really want to light on fire, you kind of have to put them somewhere. So it takes up a lot of time and space.
So this is some photos of the build process, and it's kind of what I said. So multiple redesigns. It took 5 of our garrison members over 100 hours to put it together, and we went to the hardware store an ungodly amount of times. But each part we had to design so that it would come apart. So the corner photo is the mount for the 60 for the M60 machine gun that we have up top. There's an interior photo before we painted. And then we got a plan of how we kind of wanted to lay out our space the first time we used it, and a kind of a test of that space so we combined the watchtower and the machine gun nest from one of the outpost play sets. And then the very last drawing, the very last corner picture is my diagram for, all right, how do we make this not collapse? And we spent quite a bit of time just working through that, because we built it out, it's all out of wood and entirely too many nails and screws and bolts, but it doesn't move.
That's what it looks like.
Yeah, that's it.
We wanted it here, but we didn't have, we weren't allowed to bring it.
Yeah.
Too big.
Yeah.
The internet is your friend. So, when you plan your costume, those who've come to the panel before, always do your research. When you pick a costume, I usually do a list from head to toe of what the character has. Anything from a wig down to the boots, which are usually the most difficult thing to get, especially for women. Shoes are a horrible part of it. Talk to the artists, talk to people who've done it before. YouTube is your friend for making things. We've got field manuals on our website, and now we also have the finest recruitment page. So, you want to talk about that, Maggie?
Yeah, so we decided that because we're getting a lot of people coming in, we needed somewhere that they could come to us to ask for help. Because there's almost always, if there is a problem with the person's costume, it's always usually like the same issues. They don't have the right harness, they don't have the right gun, they don't know where to get the helmet. So we opened the Finest Recruitment page on Facebook so people could actually come and be like, hey, how does this look? What am I missing? Or where do I find this? So that our guys can be like, oh, well, I did that one, I got it from here. Or this is how I went about making the pattern of camo on the pants. Because we had a lot of people who did like Tiger Force, they had to hand paint all those stripes in. Certain characters have a very specific design that you can't buy.
No.
So we open that up so we can get more people who are not really sure about trying to apply because they don't know if they're good enough or how to even go about making what they have better.
And some people, I don't know if they've contacted you guys on the recruitment page, but I would get like, I don't know where to start.
Right.
Like I want to do something, I just don't know where to start.
Right.
What do I do? Which character do you want?
All right, yeah. We've had a lot of people like, so what should I do? Well, you have to pick something first, and then I can help you point you in the right direction.
I had a guy here one of the evenings where we were hanging out, and he was like, what do you think I should be? And I was like, I don't know. What do you want to be?
Do you have a favorite character? Start there.
Yeah, and he was like, well, I don't know. There's like a list. I was like, start with one, go down the list. It'll get addicting. Don't worry. Drink wine. Materials. So, a lot of the G.I. Joe costumes are Army surplus stuff you can get. Things that have been used, obviously, in the military. We have specific vendors we use, like our helmets. A lot of the helmets, like the Viper helmet or the Trooper helmet or Crimson Guard, is all put by Viper Studios, who specializes in the G.I. Joe costuming community. So it is a lot of our stuff.
Yep.
EVA foam. Actually, the top right photo, the Baroness, is not. It's a customized one with Sentra by a member of ours in Winnipeg, and Sentra is not supposed to look like that or bend like that, but
And somehow she's figured out how to do it.
yeah, she's figured out how to do curves on it, and I've never seen that before, but she's done a really great job. And it doesn't have to come from, like, just so you guys know, you don't have to go to the vendors that we suggest, but
That's the quality we're
that's the quality we're looking for, and her quality is phenomenal. Like, I've never seen anyone use materials like that. So she's, you know, as long as it's up to the quality we want, then like you don't have to go to the vendors. Is it the bottom right is the 3D printed?
Yeah, bottom on the left.
Bottom
actually.
left,
Gauntlets.
Yeah, the gauntlets for the
Iron
Iron
Grenadiers.
Grenadiers. So those are Iron Grenadiers, and the CG guys are our newest army building costumes. So I guess this one's going to be the next one, right?
That's the goal.
All right.
then this is 3D printed here. Yeah.
Yeah, so my Don Marino visor is 3D printed by a member. Maggie had to measure my face and from ear to ear, and then the bridge of my nose underneath my nose to my brow.
Right.
Yeah, and so we sent him a picture and literally like wrote on the picture like the measurements, eye separation, and then from the temple to the ear, so he can get the side correctly. And then he tried to, make it so it wasn't like gigantic on my face because I have a small head. Proportions are also a good thing to keep in mind. And with like Warbla and 3D printing, like exploding, everybody can make anything now. So if you know somebody has a 3D printer, all you need is measurements and a blueprint. Most of the stuff that is online you can download and then just have it printed. So, that's good. Oh God. I have a bin of things that have gone wrong. I would like to light it on fire and kick it down the street, but I don't. I picked out things from the box of mistakes that I can kind of salvage and reuse. Leave extra time when you're planning a new costume. You will fail multiple times, or if you're lucky, you won't. Like I'm usually screaming, so. Have a repair kit. When we go to cons, we always have a repair kit, or a sewing machine, or a box of glue and a heat gun and
Velcro.
Velcro.
Your friend.
Safety pins.
Sewing kit. Crazy glue.
Snaps.
Duct tape. Yeah. When you get frustrated, just walk away. Just take a break, 10 minutes. Scream at the top of your lungs, or cry. Yeah, just walk away, take a break, come back to it in a bit. It will get better. Don't give up. No one gets it on the first try. So, I don't know. You've gotten frustrated.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, actually, I don't know that I've had a costume where I haven't had to stop or it's been as successful as I wanted to. Everything is delayed. That leave extra time cannot be understated. I mean, when you know your deadline is JoeCon, start a year ahead of time. Start a year and a half ahead of time.
Yeah.
I mean, because something's going to go wrong and you're not going to get something that you need and you're going to have to take a minute and adapt. And you just need to have that time with them.
I had the Serpenter snakes unglued yesterday, and I had Heather, one of our friends, literally, there you are, she had shoved her hand up my armor and was sewing as I was wearing it. Like, I couldn't even take it off because the snakes were wrapped around me, so we just stood there in the hallway as she's sewing the yellow snake around. I was like, sure enough, this is what's going to happen today. Just going to go with it, it's fine.
Make sure you have friends who are comfortable with doing weird things while you're wearing costumes.
Personal space is
Non-existent.
Today, my belt was about 2.5 inches too long and I didn't have a punch. So my sister literally took fishing line and pulled all the belt back so that it looked appropriate in the front. I just had this little she had cut me out of my costume to get the fishing line off. So yeah, it happens. Just adapt.
I've had Maggie pin me in place, and then we haven't been able to take the costume off. I've gotten stuck in my costume.
That happens all the time.
Where she's had, we've been in weird positions where she's trying to pull my costume off, and I'm trying to help her, and we've become closer because of it. Yeah.
I've been places, I've seen things.
This costume on the right is the Retaliation Jinx costume that I had, and if you guys have gone to the panel, I sometimes use this as an example, where I had wanted to finish it, and I FedExed, never do this, I FedExed a sewing machine to JoeCon, and was sitting on the floor crying because I could not get the black to lay right or sew right, and everyone was getting ready for dinner on Saturday night, and it just wasn't working. It was eating the thread, it was punching holes in it. I was in tears, and finally, I was like, I just have to go to dinner. It's fine. It took me another year to actually get it to work right. Like, I had left it alone for 6 months after I was so angry. All I wanted to do was take scissors to it, light it on fire. I feel like you guys are going to think we're pyromaniacs after this. Okay, so do you want to take this one? It's all me talking.
I know. So I don't have this problem, but.
No, but
Yeah.
some people do.
No, they do. A lot of people do, and I'm that one in the group that will definitely step up and be like, you don't grab that person like that. Do not just walk in, grab them, and take a picture. Like, please ask. There are customers that they may seem really outgoing, but they are like total introverts, and they may not like being touched. But people know that. I make that very, very aware. Like, I don't know you, I don't necessarily want to hug you. But yeah, it's just be courteous. Always, we had some very young customers this weekend.
Yes.
And there were some guys that were getting a little bit
Too
overzealous. And it's like, this child is like 15, right?
Yeah.
This is not a...
And when we're in groups like that, it becomes we're a protective family as a community anyway, so we kind of like, everybody, you could see like the hair went up, like spidey sense, and you're like, yeah, we're just gonna stare at you and watch everything you do.
Nope.
And it was very obvious that that person became uncomfortable and just left. Kind of got the message without having to, one, start an argument, two, make a scene, draw attention, or make either the child or everybody else attending uncomfortable. But that person understood that that's inappropriate and you are going to leave now, or there's going to be about 30 people who physically will remove you from doing things like that. So, so ask before you touch. Can I have a picture? Can I put my arm around you?
I love that you put the word douche up there.
That was me!
Oh, that was you?
Yeah!
I wonder why.
The one slide I let her edit.
You told me my wording was too long.
I did, several times.
It's like, he was like, smaller words, gotta fit on this line. And I was like, I don't know, I'll just put douche.
It works.
Yeah. Don't get angry if people are eating and you want a picture and they're like literally biting into their sandwich. You're like, can I have a picture? Sure.
Can you swing back around in 5 minutes?
Yeah. Or when they're going into the bathroom, can you hold my baby while we take a picture? I'm about to pee my pants. No. So just be respectful. Just be nice. Everyone's nice.
We're people too.
So the charity, so we started with Wounded Warrior Project, as you guys know, and then we went to the USO, and then they found Canines for Warriors, and they take dogs from kill shelters and partner them up with vets with PTSD or other injuries, and they have a camp down in Florida.
Outside of Jacksonville.
Yes, which some of us have gone to, and they show you a video that will make you cry. But when we visited them, we kind of decided that they're the charity that we're going to continue to help, and we have. And like I said, this weekend we've made over $3,000 here. But in total, over the last 4 years, we collected more than $50,000. I really hate you guys. I'm saying to the slide.
All you.
That have helped veterans. Because of what the costuming we do, it's very logical for us to help vets or active service members. And we have a lot of our members are either retired, or they're veterans, or they're active service members. So, because we like to give back to the community, we obviously choose charities like this. But we also like pups, so it was a very logical thing. So we're just keeping canines for warriors for as long as they'll have us help them and collect for them and support them. So when we went to see them, they had actually broken down, because they don't have a high overhead, so more money goes to them. And, like $2,300 or $2,700 is 4 weeks of training a dog, a kit, and I think it's therapy for the vet.
They pay for everything. They pay for food, transportation, medication they're on.
Yeah.
They
The
pay
flight.
for their doctor's appointments, the flights to get there.
Yeah.
They pay for everything, these people, so.
So in each batch that come in, it's only like 12 guys or 12 vets at a
This summer
time.
they have their first all-female class.
So more money goes to each person and canine that needs it, and they have those dogs for life. If the dog passes away, they get them a new dog. And they go through training. The dog actually goes through a boot camp.
Yep.
And
some do wash out.
yes, we went to the kennelette.
Yeah,
They wash out and then they go back.
So these dogs are washed out, but they're still up for adoption, so if you guys know anyone.
Oh my God, we almost left with a dog that day. I was like, where are we putting this dog? I really want the dog. And she's like, what are you doing? We can't take a dog. We're going to JoeCon. So day one at JoeCon was 1120, and day two was 1880. But last night,
That's
included. Okay.
Yep.
So just so you guys know how amazing you are, last night one of our members was talking in line to somebody.
Yeah, I think
To you. Yes, and we were $80 short.
Of 3,000 on day 2.
Yeah, so
He pulls $80 out of his pocket and
yeah.
hands it to us.
An attendee did that for us. So we thank you. Without this, without you guys. Last year we beat our all-time goal of 15,000. No, we've never reached 15,000 for 1 year, right?
For the
For the campaign, yeah, for the campaign.
Yeah.
So this year we're already like,
We're moving really well.
really well, yes.
I mean, we beat in one day 1 here, we beat our entire weekend
Last year. Yeah, so thank you guys, we really appreciate it, and we hope we can continue this.
Yeah.
Any questions? And please don't make me cry. Mike. Yeah.
So I know this is particularly pertinent for females, but how, do you specifically devise your costumes so that you are able to use the restroom throughout the day? Or do you
No.
just
No.
break?
Yeah, so the costume
I
she's
wanted
in.
to ask a question about the bathroom, because I know just the clothing I wear, sometimes I
Yeah.
have pre-planned going to the bathroom, if I wait till the last minute, I will.
Yeah, hers, she has Spanx on underneath. Then she's got pants, the top, and the outer suit. So for her to go to the bathroom, she's gonna get naked. Everything has to come off.
20-minute process.
Right.
Oh, yeah. You have to plan to go to the bathroom, or you have a Maggie who just then
undresses you really quickly.
Right, and all of a sudden you look down and you're like, I can pee!
So like some of them, like the Vipers, they're just pants and a shirt. I just take the vest off, hang it up on the thing, and I can go to the bathroom. But any bodysuit, it's not happening.
Fairness has
Fairness, all the
armor.
armor stuff.
That's gotta all
you're
come
not.
off, other than your gauntlets.
Yeah,
And you
it's
can't,
usually a
you
bodysuit
can't undo your
under that.
pants, so you
Oh, actually,
can't.
it's a bodysuit with a corset and then the armor on top.
Yeah, so it's a Spanx bodysuit, corset, armor.
Yeah, that one takes even longer.
Yeah, we're really committed to being insane. Yeah, but yeah, sometimes if you got like a Viper, I don't know if Alex is in the bathroom, but
It's a jumpsuit, right?
It's a flight suit, it's not bad, but I do have a couple of costumes where you have to take half of it off to get to the bathroom.
the females definitely have a harder
Oh, yeah, yeah.
time. So, and if you're in heels, like, it's kind of a long way down. Yes,
Where did you say you can get the helmet?
Hit Viper Studios.
Good Vipers.
They're out of Michigan, upstate.
How long does it usually take to?
Depends on the helmet.
Yeah, he has usually like some like waiting in the wings of certain helmets because they're the big sellers.
Like CGs are
They're in right now.
they're in right now. Iron Grenadiers are in. You know, like, he usually has his officers and troopers like ready on the go, but if you need something specific, like a mask,
Or Techno Viper.
Techno Viper, that'll take a little bit of time.
Yeah.
They one size fits all, or is he single to?
He has a giant head, you're gonna have to use padding.
Okay, 'cause I have a big giant head.
He's,
Yeah,
so to explain,
so-
he's got a size 13 cat head. I don't know what that is, but it's giant. I'm a 7.
I have a big head and I have to put a ton of padding in here for it to not wobble around.
Right.
Yeah, she has a giant head.
7.5 gray. Big.
Ooh, rice.
I know. Food.
Yes, William.
If you want to fly, what are you supposed to do?
You go to our website and you go to the membership
Yeah.
tab and then it says join.
What's the website, Maggie?
finestcc.com.
What do you have to submit though, once you're in there?
So we need a front and a back. Sometimes if you have a side, that's fine. Extra shot if you want to add it in, and then your reference shot.
Now your reference shot should be the figure you're doing.
Yeah.
If you're doing a fem trooper, we have
You would put the picture of the manual.
Right. If you're doing a Baroness, the version of the Baroness you were doing. If you're
Yeah,
doing
and it is important that you pick the one that your costume actually looks like.
Right.
Because we've definitely had the Baroness put in applications and pick a totally different picture for Baroness. And it's like,
We'll
this
send us
could
the
be
sideshow
another
collectibles
because-
one, and then they'll be doing like the 83 version.
And Vipers too, I mean, same thing. V1, we had V1 Vipers submit with the sideshow references and vice versa.
We're gonna
Makes it
say
a little
no.
difficult.
Yeah, like, are you sure this is what you wanted to put in? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, nice. Hi.
With all the different versions of figures and even card art can be different, as long as there's like a representation out there, are you allowed to match to that representation?
Yes.
Yeah, but we need that. Whatever one you're doing, we need that picture.
So, but the only thing is, when you say all representation, it can't be an interpreted art piece. So it has to be an officially.
No fan art.
Yeah, no fan art, no like steampunk, anything, like, so, or
Mashups.
Customs, mashups,
Concept
yeah.
art, it's, yeah.
Martin, you have a question?
Do you help them make the costume, or do you guys do it by yourself?
Most of the time, you do them. We do have some members who will do whole costumes. We have a guy who does like the Vipers, like you can just order it from him.
He does pieces of like all the red on the Viper.
We have guys who do patches, like that's all he does. He does, because there are so many patches for these shows that they don't exist in the real world.
So we have to design them, and then he
Embroiders them.
embroiders them.
One-off custom patches, and that is something that cannot be,
Yeah.
I mean, it really adds that detail.
I have a soul, how I get involved in this, making the costume stuff if I can.
Make friends. Which I know is hard for you, Martin.
Yes?
I wanted to make a suggestion. One thing that I found out is find a good seamstress in your area, one that you trust. And you can get patterns from fellow members in the JoeCon and also hit the recruitment page for other ideas.
Yeah, mine, I don't live near you, so I can't be your seamstress.
Yeah, if you find the seamstress, they'll do any alterations you want. Which is a lot of G.I. Joe costumes, that's all it is, it's just an alteration to already existing clothing.
It depends on the costume you're talking about too. Like the trooper doesn't take that much sewing. The only really custom piece on it is the panel and the emblem. I mean, but other than that, that's almost off the rack to use. I mean, so there's ways to, and we have folks that can help you assemble those pieces.
Yeah. Yes?
Do you have advice or tips for people that want to actually get into the character, so like they're acting or doing skits?
As long as you know the character, like, I mean, we don't necessarily stay in character. One of our roadblock or
Rhymes everything.
yeah, so he was all last night and he just went with it. Just kept on rhyming no matter what he was doing at the crafts table. Like, just, I mean, if you want to be in character, do it. A lot of us are shy, or the costume takes so much out of you, you're too exhausted to even try to be in character. We have co-commanders that they'll do the voice and kill themselves to where they're forced the next day.
Question.
Where are you?
Yes.
Oh, hey.
Hey.
Hey, Roadblock.
Yeah. You gonna keep rhyming for us?
Are you gonna ask the question in a rhyme?
Please.
All that time. My brain stopped working. I guess my question is as far as those who might be interested, as far as issues with ethnicity, in choosing characters, like somebody who wants to be Roblox or a lot of those lines. Because you get to think about as far as gender bending. Have there been any suggestions in regards to
I mean,
We've had, up in Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan, we have a man who has done the 83 Baroness, and he looks exactly like the figure.
right. We have,
Yesterday I was Serpentor. Like,
yeah, we have multiple people who do Spirit.
Yeah, I've done Spirit before.
You've done Spirit. One of our other members, Angela, does Spirit.
She did.
As long as you're not painting yourself, there's no reason you can't be any character you love. The costumes are very specific, so it doesn't matter whether or not you look like them, you're still that character.
Yeah.
And that includes hair color, hair, beards. I don't shave my beard for any character that I do, so.
Right.
I feel like you look like a baby.
I do. I look like I'm 12.
Rachel's like, yep. Yeah, so as long as you're sensitive to the ethnicity, like you're not painting yourself, you can be whoever you want, like Maggie said.
Be respectful, use common sense.
Yes.
Yes, Barry.
I don't have a question, but I just want to thank you guys. Back when JoeCon, when I started to come to JoeCon, the highlight was James Kavanaugh. And you guys have considerably upped the bar. You put your stamp on things. Joe, you definitely have had your stamp on things here where now there's them trooper packages we can go buy at the club store. You've made, I think, for everybody the experience to come to JoeCon that much better. Yeah, I'm trying to get this right.
You're an ass.
And we know this. And I think testimony of last night is, I remember when the first costume contest was, maybe 1 or 2 people. I've never seen that many people, and that is all because of you guys. And thanks for helping make these last couple of years even better than the years they were before. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I took pictures of it just to be an ass.
I really hate you.
Yeah, we got this.
I did get really excited when you made up M Trooper.
Oh, yeah.
I gotta say, pretty excited. I bought several packs, just not one. Any other questions? Oh, William.
You're helping.
Really?
Well, it's come up in a group, so this is a good panel to talk about it. Is there anything as a character that's too small, too little references to bring to the club?
So that has come up, and that's also why we want to find recruitment. The recruitment page, because we have had people who pick somebody who was in a cartoon episode for like 3 seconds. That's
Like
great.
Cobra Mechanic.
Yeah, that's great that you want to do it, but as your entrance costume, we would like a face figure, somebody that is more recognizable. And then if you want to do the Cobra Mechanic later, that's totally cool. But to actually get in, it needs to be somebody that, if you're out at a con and you're the only one in your group, that they would know it's from G.I. Joe.
Yeah, you're not like, no one's confusing you for like a Ghostbuster or
Right.
something obscure from like V or something.
Yeah.
Like, what are you? I'm a Cobra Mechanic. What? From episode what?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, on a related note, sorry.
Where are we?
Where are we?
Over here.
Oh,
Okay.
hi. Voice from nowhere.
So, what if you wanted to do maybe your character, but you were doing like a really specific instance of them from like one episode? For example, what if I wanted to be Cobra Commander from like the ending of the Beach episode of Big Skin Commandos when he's trying to get into Studio 55 and he's got that cape that he never wears in any other planet?
The suggestion that I would have is, especially if you're going to do something that is Cobra Commander, is to find a reference, find a figure, find something that's close, that's really, really, really close to what you want to do, submit with the one that you have a reference for, and then make your small tweaks and do a variant right off the bat. That's okay, but to get in, you need to find a reference and follow that reference. And some of the times, and we love obscure characters.
Yes, we have a whole group of people in the finest who challenge each other on how obscure they can get.
Yeah. I mean, we
It's
do.
Starduster.
Yeah.
I did Coral last year.
Yeah.
I mean, Mercer's one of my favorites, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did that
No,
this
you
year.
don't say. They were twins this year.
Yeah, it was great.
It was awesome. But yeah, I would pick one reference of something close and then make a variant.
You have a question, I have you. Yes.
None that are very applicable to what what's the meaning of life?
Got nothing.
Come on, 42.
Right. Go ahead. The girl with green hair in the back.
Is it okay if you pick a character just from the comic book?
Yes.
It's totally fine.
Yeah, either comic books or the movie or the cartoon. So,
My first character was originally in a video game.
yeah, or the video game, yeah.
So she didn't even get into the comics till way later. And they completely redesigned her now, so she doesn't even look the same. He looks, yeah. Yeah. We don't sleep. Like at all. We go to work, we come home, so we sleep for like, a couple hours, get up, go to work, come home, sew somewhere.
Yeah, I don't sew, and that's accurate, so.
We're pretty intense. Like, it's fun because you can collaborate, like, with your friends. I'm lucky I get my best friend and I get to sew with her all the time. And you guys have probably seen this live streaming, being silly and stuff, but like you also get to meet like friends you'll have forever, and you get to collaborate and you get to meet up at conventions and, oh, you did it this way or you did it that way or this looks the same. So, I don't know, it gets really addicting.
It does.
A bit much.
Yeah, I just moved, Maggie just moved, and it was like more than half of our stuff was just either fabric or costumes, bins, or, yeah.
So prepping for this was fun. where is everything?
It took me 3 hours to find a sewing machine without a paddle. Like, I couldn't find the pedal. I was like, all right, so I got the sewing machine. I don't have a pedal now.
Do you ever get the chance to actually like reuse pieces of previous costumes to make a new costume, or is everything like you having been set aside for each and every single costume, every single piece that goes in it?
I have little pieces for some costumes that'll like go between costumes, like certain gloves I can use for multiple costumes. If the bodysuit doesn't have a patch attached to it, I can use it for other costumes. But a lot of the times, it's all their own thing. Like you have like 30 black bodysuits, but each one is for a different costume.
And it's, you know, it's by choice. Like, I've got shoes, like my Don Marino yesterday was also my Jinx retaliation shoes. That rarely happens.
Yeah.
Like like Maggie said, each bin is for each bag or whatever you keep all of the costume in is that one thing. It also helps with like keeping track of everything.
Right. So when you need to wear it, it's right there. All
Yeah,
you
you
just
just-
have to go find that other piece.
Yeah.
Yes,
Just a quick one. Do you guys have vehicles?
we do.
Yes, so we have the Thunder Machine, and one of our members made it. And he goes to Wasteland Weekend all the time. That's a Mad Max con that's in the desert in California. And so he built the Thunder Machine and then sold it to another member. So it kind of stays within the family.
Yeah.
We get to borrow the snake armor. Done it a couple times. Dan Pennegar has been nice and gracious enough to let us take it with us. It is a really delicate piece, so we don't do that often, but we've done it, I think, once,
Yeah.
twice.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the guys went and got it from Kokomo. There was like 5 guys, a truck, and they literally started at like 5 a.m., went, got it, went to dinner, came back. Like, it was like a 22-hour trip. Like, non-stop, no one slept. They just went, got it, yeah, sure. But it's what, like 30 years old? Like, you can't get in it and like start running around and like beating people with it. That thing's like really fragile. Like, but like all the action figures like that have no crotch. Any other questions? No?
I think that's our time too.
Okay. Are we good with 10? Oh, we have 9 minutes. We have 5 minutes. Oh, yeah, we're good. Okay.